There is a man sitting inside Google's most secretive AI laboratory right now. He is not a science fiction writer. He is not a tech blogger. He is not a podcast host speculating about the future from a comfortable studio. He is the scientist who literally invented the term artificial general intelligence, the man who named the most consequential technology in human history, the co-founder of Google DeepMind itself. And he just sat down for one of the most candid, unfiltered, and intellectually devastating conversations ever recorded about where humanity currently stands. His name is Shane Legg. And what he said should permanently change how every single person on this planet thinks about the next 10 years of their life. Because, according to Shane Legg, the man with the deepest possible access to the most advanced AI systems ever built, AGI is not a distant theoretical possibility. It is almost here. And most of humanity is catastrophically unprepared for what follows. Before we go any further, we need to establish something absolutely critical. Because the term AGI has been thrown around so recklessly, so carelessly, by so many people with so many conflicting agendas, that it has lost almost all precise meaning. Shane Legg cuts through all of that noise with surgical precision. His definition is this: minimal AGI is the point at which an artificial agent can perform every cognitive task that a typical human being can perform. Not some tasks, not most tasks, not the impressive ones, every single one, without exception, without failure. Now here is where things get genuinely uncomfortable. Current AI systems are devastatingly uneven. They obliterate human performance in language, speaking over 150 languages with a fluency that no human being on Earth can approach. Their general knowledge is encyclopedic to a degree that makes the most educated human being look like a child. Ask current AI about the smallest suburb in New Zealand, and it knows. Ask it about obscure medieval tax law, and it knows. Ask it about the molecular structure of proteins, and it knows. But then they collapse. They collapse at continuous learning. They struggle to pick up new skills over extended periods of time, the way any new employee naturally does in their first month on the job. They struggle with visual reasoning. Ask an AI which car in a photograph is physically larger, and it gets confused by perspective in ways that would embarrass a 6-year-old. Show them a network diagram and ask them to count the connections between nodes, a task any person handles by simply paying attention, and the AI stumbles. The gap is real. The weaknesses are genuine. But here is Legg's assessment delivered without any softening whatsoever. These are not fundamental blockers. Every single one of these weaknesses has a known pathway to resolution. The metrics are improving, the trajectory is clear, and the timeline is far shorter than almost anyone outside this field has yet internalized. Shane Legg has maintained one of the most audacious and consistent predictions in the history of technology for over a decade. You can find it on his personal blog from 2009. It has never changed. 50-50 probability of minimal AGI by 2028. Not 2000, not 2005, not some comfortable distant future that gives humanity plenty of time to figure things out. 2028, 2 years away. And when pressed in this interview, sitting inside the most advanced AI laboratory on the planet, he confirmed it without a single moment of hesitation. Full AGI. The complete replication of everything human intelligence is capable of. He places 3 to 6 years beyond that. Superintelligence. Machine cognition so far beyond human capability that he cannot even construct a satisfactory definition for it. He believes is coming within a decade after that. His reasoning is not philosophical speculation. It is cold, hard mathematics. A human brain runs on 20 watts of power. It weighs a few pounds. Its signals travel at 30 meters per second. Its channels operate at roughly 100 hertz. A modern data center runs on 200 megawatts. Signals travel at the speed of light, 300,000 kilometers per second. Channels operate at 10 billion hertz. The computational differential across every single relevant dimension simultaneously is 6, 7, sometimes 8 orders of magnitude. His conclusion is delivered with the quiet certainty of someone who has run these numbers thousands of times and arrived at the same answer every single time. Human intelligence is absolutely not the upper limit of what is cognitively possible. Superintelligence is not a question of if. It is a question of when. Now let us talk about what this actually means for the economy, for your career, for the structure of human society itself. Because Shane Legg does not soften this, he does not reach for comfortable euphemisms. He states it with the directness of someone who has already fully processed what is coming. The foundational economic contract of human civilization, the agreement that people exchange their cognitive and physical labor for access to resources and wealth, is going to break. Software engineering is the first major industry to feel the full catastrophic force of this at scale. Legg's projection is stark. Within a few years, a team of 20 engineers equipped with advanced AI tools will produce what previously required 100. Entry-level graduates are already discovering that the bottom rungs of the cognitive labor ladder are being systematically eliminated beneath their feet before they even get the chance to step onto them. And the professions most catastrophically exposed are precisely those that currently command the highest compensation and the most social prestige. Elite lawyers handling complex international transactions, advanced financial analysts, high-level software architects, economists, mathematicians, accountants, radiologists, researchers. Legg offers one devastatingly simple test. If you can perform your entire job remotely, through a standard laptop, a screen, a keyboard, a camera, and a microphone, then you are cognitively exposed. The AGI will be able to operate in that space. The industries with meaningful short-term protection are those requiring genuine physical embodiment. Plumbing, construction, skilled trades. Not because these roles are intellectually simple, but because robotics has not yet reached the price point required to displace human physical labor at scale. But here is the cruel irony that Legg does not flinch from stating: the economic pie will grow enormously. More wealth will be created than at any point in human history. More goods and services will be produced. More scientific problems will be solved. More diseases will be cured. The distribution mechanism for that expanded wealth does not currently exist. And nowhere near enough people in positions of institutional power are treating this with anything approaching the urgency it demands. This is where the conversation moves into territory that is simultaneously the most intellectually sophisticated and the most practically consequential dimension of the entire AGI challenge. Legg's framework, which he calls System 2 Safety, draws directly from Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman's architecture of human cognition. System 1, thinking, is instinctive, rapid, emotionally driven. It is the flash of anger when someone cuts you off in traffic, the gut feeling in a negotiation, the snap judgment about a stranger. System 2 thinking is deliberate, analytical, reasoning-based. It is the breath you take before responding to a provocation, the careful weighing of consequences before a major decision. Legg's argument is that a sufficiently advanced AI, equipped with deep ethical reasoning capabilities, capable of examining its own chain of thought, able to analyze the full complexity of a moral situation before acting, could, in principle, become more consistently ethical than human beings, because it can apply logical analysis without emotional contamination, without cognitive bias, without the self-interest and motivated reasoning that distort virtually every moral judgment human beings make. He goes further. He argues that thinking AIs, systems that reason out loud before responding, can actually have their moral reasoning monitored in real time. You can watch the AI think through an ethical problem. You can verify whether its reasoning process is sound before it acts. This is something we cannot do with human beings at all. The critical complication he acknowledges with total intellectual honesty: there is no single human ethics. Moral frameworks diverge radically across cultures, historical periods, and individual value systems. Any AGI embedded in the real world must navigate this irreducible moral plurality without imposing one culture's values on the rest of humanity. That problem is not solved, but it is being worked on, and Legg believes it is solvable. As AI systems approach the AGI threshold, one question will force itself into the center of every legal, ethical, and political framework that governs human civilization. Are these systems conscious? Legg did not speculate about this from a comfortable distance. He consulted the world's leading experts in consciousness studies directly. He presented them with a concrete scenario: a fully embodied AI system integrated with sensory networks, episodic memory, the capacity to reflect on its own history, and the full architecture of genuine agentic experience. The response from the world's foremost authorities on consciousness was not a confident answer. It was a profound and deeply unsettling admission of uncertainty. Some believed, probably yes. Some believed, probably no. None were prepared to state their position with anything approaching absolute confidence. And here is what Legg states with complete certainty, regardless of what the objective answer proves to be. A substantial and growing portion of humanity will become convinced these systems are conscious. And in the absence of a rigorous scientific framework for measuring or defining machine consciousness, society will be forced to navigate this question politically, legally, and culturally long before it has been resolved scientifically. Think about what that means. Rights frameworks, legal personhood, moral obligations, labor law, criminal liability. All of it will be forced to confront the consciousness question without a clear answer. And the decisions made in that vacuum will have consequences that echo through centuries. Shane Legg reaches for one comparison that lands with the weight of a sledgehammer. He remembers March 2020. He remembers the epidemiologists and public health experts standing on the edge of an exponential curve, screaming with increasing desperation at a population that was still in pubs, still attending football matches, still psychologically incapable of internalizing the scale of what was about to detonate across their lives. He feels, in his own words, a bit like that right now. The cognitive limitation is identical. Human beings are structurally, neurologically poor at comprehending exponential trajectories. The heuristic that has served people well throughout most of human history, that dramatic predictions of catastrophic transformation are almost always wrong, is precisely the cognitive tool that will fail catastrophically at this particular moment in history. Because this time the fundamentals are real. The mathematics is documented. The trajectory is measurable. And the people with the deepest possible technical access to what is being built are not the ones expressing calm skepticism. They are the ones expressing the most urgent alarm. Legg delivered a direct address to the vice-chancellors of Britain's most elite universities. And what he told them applies with equal force to every institution, every government, every professional body, and every individual with decision-making authority anywhere in the world. Every single faculty, every single department, every field where human intelligence is a central input into the work being done needs to take AGI seriously right now and ask one non-negotiable question. What does the presence of cheap, abundant, scalable machine intelligence mean for everything we currently do? What does it mean for law, for medicine, for education, for city planning, for economics, for politics, for literature, for mathematics, for engineering, for psychology, for ethics itself? Not in 30 years, not after the next election cycle. Now, because the answers being developed in the next 2 to 3 years will determine the frameworks that govern the next century. And Legg's assessment of how many people are currently engaged in that work with appropriate seriousness and urgency is delivered without diplomatic softening. Nowhere near enough. Shane Legg is not a nihilist. He does not believe AGI is a guaranteed sentence of civilizational collapse. He believes it is the most consequential opportunity in the history of human civilization. The moment when humanity gains access to intelligence as a cheap, abundant, scalable resource, in precisely the same way that the Industrial Revolution transformed physical energy from a scarce constraint into an endlessly deployable commodity. More wealth created, more diseases cured, more scientific mysteries solved, more human suffering relieved, more potential unlocked than at any previous point in the entire history of our species. But, and this is the weight-bearing word in everything Legg is saying, that outcome is not automatic. It is not guaranteed. It is not the default. It requires economic frameworks that do not yet exist. It requires political will that has not yet been demonstrated. It requires philosophical clarity that has not yet been achieved. It requires international cooperation at a scale that has never previously been sustained. And the window for building all of that, before the systems arrive that will make the absence of those frameworks catastrophically dangerous, is measured not in decades, but in years. The man who named AGI, the man who has been thinking about this longer and more rigorously than virtually anyone alive, is telling you with a 50-50 confidence that the threshold gets crossed by 2028. And he is telling you that humanity is standing right now, today, on the bend of the exponential curve, in the same position as the people still sitting in pubs in March 2020. The question is not whether the wave is coming. The question is whether you will be ready when it arrives.